The 2016 Monaco Grand Prix, formerly known as the Formula One Grand Prix de Monaco 2016, was a Formula One motor race held on the 29th of May 2016 at the Circuit de Monaco, a street circuit that runs through the Principality of Monaco. It was the sixth round of the 2016 season, and marked the 74th time that the Monaco Grand Prix had been held, as well as the 63rd time it had been held as a round of the Formula One World Championship, since the series' inception in 1950. Nico Rosberg was the defending race winner, having won the past 3 Monaco Grand Prix in a row, and entered the race with a 39-point lead held over Ferrari driver Kimi Räikkönen in the Drivers' Championship. Rosberg's team, Mercedes, held the 48-point lead over Ferrari in the Constructors Championship. During Saturday's qualifying, Daniel Ricciardo, who was driving for Red Bull Racing, achieved the first pole position of his career. In an eventful race, Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton took victory ahead of Ricciardo, who had lost time during a pit stop when his mechanics did not have the tires ready for him. Sergio Pérez completed the podium for Force India, the team's first appearance in the top 3 of the season and their first since the 2015 Russian Grand Prix. Report. Background. Following their controversial crash and double retirement at the previous race in Spain 2 weeks earlier, particular attention was on championship leaders Mercedes and their drivers Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton. The team was adamant that such an incident could not be repeated, with their head of motorsport Toto Wolff saying, "We cannot afford to drop the ball, so we must remain united, remain strong and hit back hard this weekend." Quote. Fernando Alonso received a new, revised combustion engine for his car, his third of 5 allowed over the course of the season without receiving a grid penalty. Power unit supplier Honda stressed that they had not used any development tokens, a set of limited allowed changes to the units, but had instead only improved reliability. The team also equipped both cars with new batteries and electronics control units, set to improve the reliability of the cars as well. The race saw the competitive DE-Acute BUT of Pirelli's new ultra-soft tire compound, which was provided alongside the super soft and soft compounds. Per the regulations of the 2016 season, every driver needs to set aside 1 set each of the 2 softest compounds for the race and 1 set of the ultra-softs for Q3. Should they advance, the drivers have freedom of what other compounds they choose for the remaining 10 out of 13 sets. Going into the weekend, Nico Rosberg led the Drivers' Championship with 100 points, followed by Ferrari's Kimi Räikkönen with 61 points. Lewis Hamilton followed in third, a further 4 points behind, with Sebastian Vettel in fourth with 48 points, level with Daniel Ricciardo in fifth. Free practice. Per the regulations for the 2016 season, 2 90-minute practice and 1 60-minute session were held before qualifying on Saturday. The first 2 usually take place on Friday, with Monaco being the single exemption, where those sessions are held on Thursday. In second practice on Thursday afternoon, Ricciardo was fastest, setting a time of 1:14.607, more than half a second clear of Hamilton in second place. In the third practice session on Saturday morning, Sebastian Vettel set the fastest time, about 1/100th of a second faster than Hamilton. Nico Rosberg and Daniel Ricciardo followed, both also within 2/10 of a second of Vettel. Max Verstappen was 5th fastest, although he had a minor crash coming up to Casino Square, clipping the wall. Toro Rosso were again quick, getting both drivers into the top 10. Renault had different fortunes, as both drivers had accidents, with Jolyon Palmer hindering one of Hamilton's flying laps as he crashed at the swimming pool section. Qualifying. Qualifying consisted of 3 parts: 18, 15 and 12 minutes in length respectively, with 6 drivers eliminated from competing after each of the first 2 sessions. In the second part, Lewis Hamilton quickly set a fast lap time, the quickest of the weekend up to that point, about half a second ahead of his teammate Rosberg. Meanwhile, Daniel Ricciardo set his fastest lap on the harder supersoft compound tire, meaning that he would be able to start the race on them, should it have stayed dry. On the back end, Williams struggled for pace and both Valtteri Bottas and Felipe Massa missed out on Q3 by qualifying 11th and 14th respectively. Also eliminated were Esteban Gutierrez, Jenson Button, Romain Grosjean and Magnussen. As Q3 started, Lewis Hamilton stopped in the pit lane with a loss of power and was pushed back into the garage. He was eventually able to go on track and qualified third, after starting several quick laps only to abandon them to leave his final run to the last moment. He was however beaten to pole position by Ricciardo, who was almost 0.3 of a second faster than second-placed Rosberg, with Vettel following in fourth almost a second slower. Post-qualifying. After qualifying, the race stewards decided not to give a penalty to Magnussen for crossing the pit light, since it had only changed to red 55 seconds before he crossed the pit exit line. Race. With rain shortly before the race, the start was taken behind the safety car. On lap 21, Rosberg made a pit stop for the intermediate tires, leaving only Ricciardo and Hamilton at the front of the field on the full wet tires. Ricciardo made the switch on lap 24, but Hamilton stayed out, opting to remain on the wet tire until the track dried out enough to go straight to slicks. In the meantime, Verstappen had fought his way back into the top 10, after having started 21st. In the subsequent laps, Ricciardo was able to reduce the gap to Hamilton in the lead, edging as close as half a second by lap 28. Behind the leading pair, Rosberg was third ahead of Perez and Vettel. The pivotal moment of the race followed on lap 31, when Hamilton changed to slick tires, when Ricciardo followed suit a lap later. His pit crew were not ready for him and had the wrong tires, resulting in a long stop, handing the lead to Hamilton, who stayed narrowly ahead of him. Another virtual safety car period ensued on lap 34, caused by Verstappen, who crashed his car into the barrier after locking up his tires. As the VSC ended on lap 37, Ricciardo once more failed in an attempt to regain the lead. At the chicane coming out of the tunnel, Hamilton misjudged the corner and backed Ricciardo off at the exit of the chicane, causing the latter to complain about the move on team radio. While the incident was investigated by the stewards, the decision was not to take action against Hamilton. Post-race. At the podium interviews, conducted by former Formula One driver Martin Brundle, Hamilton thanked his team and expressed satisfaction about how the race went. He pointed to the problems of driving on the full wet tires for such a long distance, saying that they were about to drop off, meaning to lose much of their grip to the race surface. When he came in to change, he complimented Ricciardo on driving phenomenally all weekend. Speaking about the moment when Nico Rosberg led him past in the early stages of the race, Hamilton told the press that he had thanked his teammate for being a gentleman. Following their intra-team collision, Sauber's team principal Manisha Kaltenborn put blame on both drivers. The stewards penalized Ericsson for the incident, handing him a 3-place grid penalty for the following race in Canada as well as 3 penalty points to his license. Following the Grand Prix, Nico Rosberg retained first place in the Drivers' Championship with 106 points, but his lead over the second-place driver, now Hamilton, had decreased to 24 points. Daniel Ricciardo moved up to third with 66 points, 5 points ahead of Räikkönen. Classification. Qualifying. Squared? Felipe Nasser and Max Verstappen failed to set a time within 107% of the fastest lap during Q1. They had to apply to the stewards for permission to start the race. Carrot 1. Valtteri Bottas originally finished 11th but received a 10-second time penalty after the race for causing a collision with Esteban Gutierrez. Pascal Wehrlein received a 10-second time penalty for ignoring blue flags and another 10-second time penalty for driving too quickly under the virtual safety car. Standings after the race.